Hey everybody, welcome back to STR Unfiltered. I'm Bill Faeth, founder of Build Short-Term Rental Wealth and the STR Wealth Conference. Hopefully you guys are doing well. The title of this episode is You Can't Buy an STR Without This. It's a performa. It's really fucking simple. You are going to make mistakes if you do not run performas or have a keen understanding of how to create a performa before you purchase a piece of real estate as an investment property, whether it's LTR, MTR, or STR. That's long-term, mid-term, or short-term. Sorry for the profanity so early into the broadcast. There's a reason it's called STR Unfiltered, because I speak the unbridled truth, and you guys are going to make freaking mistakes if you do not run performas. I've made one mistake in my life investing into real estate. Knock on wood. So I'm getting ready to go see a new property on Wednesday because I run performas. And I actually run multiple scenarios with multiple interest rates, with multiple price points, because I'm doing this before I even make an offer. So I know, just walk you through this. So I found a property that an agent shared a couple of days ago. I think today's Monday that I'm recording this. You guys will probably listen to this or see this on my YouTube channel tomorrow, Tuesday, when this is released. So I think it was Saturday. Actually, it was Sunday morning, Easter Sunday morning. I found this property. Love this agent. She comes to all my boot camps and all that type of stuff. I have a good relationship with her. I trust her. She works for Tyler Kuhn at Savvy Realty, and this is on the Bourbon Trail, and her name's Tony Bear. She's awesome. And the reason I love this property is because of its size, because it's Golden Girls. I have some ARV. I can go in and update it. And I had a rough idea of what I could do with revenue. I asked her what if she'd ran AirDNA numbers, and she had. I literally, as I was out fly fishing with my wife for the first time, I'll get to that here in a second. I literally spoke to Kenny Bedwell, STR Insights. I sent him the link as we were driving back from fly fishing. Hey, can you run this? Some comps. Let me know what it is. Confirm what I thought that it was. Long story short, this property on the comps are showing about 140, 145. AirDNA 90th percentile showing about 185, 190. I know that I outperform AirDNA 90th percentile typically by 55%. That's all great. But I still have to put it in the performa. I need to know what my expenses are going to be. I need to know what the utilities are, what the internet's going to cost. This has a lake. What is it going to cost me to service the lake? Is it spring fed? Do I have to bring in water? Am I, stocking it with bass? Whatever that is, there's a pool. This is in Kentucky, a little bit farther north than where I'm at. Weather's a little bit colder. What's the pool maintenance going to cost? There's a 4-car garage that I'll turn into a game room. How's that going to affect my utility cost? There is a huge workshop. What am I going to do with that? How is that going to impact my costs? What are my cleaning costs going to be? What's property taxes? What are insurance? You plug all of this into a performa, and then you run through revenue. So there's a lot of things that, that I don't see within this property that I will do to it, that I would make changes. It's like 6.8 acres. I think it's almost 4,000 square feet, not counting that workshop, the 4-car garage. The footprint is immense, right? So I know as the marketer, I know as the value add specialist, what I believe I can do with this property. And I mean, there's no question, even with the downturn, I think I can pretty much guarantee 175 to 180. I think that I can get to 200. And if I absolutely knocked it out of the park and got some really solid high rates with some compression events, maybe 215 to 220. So like 175 on the low end, 220 on the high end. That's a $45,000 disparity. I am going to run 3 performas, so 3 revenue scenarios, not just one, right? And even the highest, good, better, best, that best at roughly 215, 212, call it 220, that's still not that 55% above the 90th percentile of AirDNA. So it's really important for me to be realistic. Too many of you, literally, one, don't run performas. I'm like Mr. Wonderful. I forbid you from ever doing that again. We have like a whole module in the accelerator. Not trying to sell it to you because you probably won't be able to get in until next year. We just started yesterday. We spend an entire module, like an entire week, going over performas because they're so important. So I've talked about garnering all the expenses. Now I'm going to run revenue scenarios, right? So I'm going to run it off the comp first, like way below 175. I'm going to run it at like 140. What's that? The comp average that I can get, right? I don't care if it's ran by a property management company. I don't care if it's only on Airbnb or only on Vrbo. Those are some real numbers that I can get from Kenny. So I'm going to go ahead and run those comps off of that. So if I look at what I've estimated is my total monthly carry cost with no rent, property's listed at $799. I think I can pick it up for probably $735 to $745, but I'm going to base, my performa off of $799. So let's call it $800. That's $160 down, probably $165 to $170 in cash to close. So $800 minus $170, going to finance $630 over 30 years. I'll probably use Brian Buckholt at Huntington Financial. I've already texted him. I've got rates looking at like $699 over 30 years. I think I can do 10% down or 20%. I usually do 20%. So that's where I get that 630 number, at 7%, including, taxes and insurance. I'm looking at about $5,200 a month. So that's roughly $63,000. If I'm not factoring in cleaning costs, that's for taxes, that's for insurance, that's for mortgage, all that type of stuff rolled in. Now I've got utilities, pool cleaning, all that other stuff. So let's say that costs me another $1,700, $1,800 a month. I'm roughly going to be at about $75,000, probably about $8,000 to be really on the high end. It could be $7,000, but I'm going to throw in an extra $1,000, $12,000 in miscellaneous. So $5,300, $1,700. That's going to put me at $7,000. I'm going to go to $8,000. Let's just say it's $96,000 at $140,000 in revenue. Sans cleaning fees. That does not include cleaning fees. Because you could add another 10, 12, 15 grand in the cleaning fees. But sans cleaning fees, I'm at about $50,000 in net income. So if I bump that up to 190, go from 140 to 175, then that's 50,000 plus another 35, because that's all going to hit the bottom line. I'm at 85,000. So now I'm thinking that really that 175 to 190 that's in that good and then the better scenario, right in the middle. That's where I think is very realistic right now. So if I'm going to put down 170,000 and I'm going to net, let's say 85,000, I literally have a 2-year cash on cash return. That's 24 months roughly that I'm going to get my cash back out of the property with $85,000 in cash flow. Now, this is where it gets good. If I can really push to 200, 215, 220 on that high-end scenario, then I'm making well over $100,000, pushing like 120, 125, and I've got less than a 24-month cash-on-cash return. The problem is I've got to be realistic. So tonight, after I get done recording this podcast, I'm going to run that through Rabu, Mashvisor, STR Insights. Already got the comps from Kenny. And also AirDNA to run all of those platforms. Most of you aren't using any. So now I'm going to get that down to my debt service coverage ratio. I'm going to factor in some appreciation. Probably status quo for the next 3 years is what I'm looking at. I'm not factoring in any appreciation. And I won't even do that until I have my hardcore numbers and my DSCR already calculated. Then I have a separate column for appreciation and also cost seg benefit. And even though there's 6.88 acres here, this is in Kentucky, it's in the county, land's pretty cheap. I have not pulled the tax records. I'll do that tomorrow before I go up and see it on Wednesday. Then I will literally reach out to John, my cost seg guy, and say, John, can you just give me a rough on this? And this is pre-renovation. There are a couple of things that I will do from a renovation standpoint outside of just furnishings to be able to go into this property. So the performas are something that are really, really important. And you have, kind of these free calculators that are available everywhere online. And then you have what John Hodge and I call the Big Daddy performa. We need to get a better name for it, but it goes through everything. It's literally like 7 tabs in the performa because we're going to run multiple scenarios. So even though Brian tells me 699, I just closed with him in Montana at 6.25, about 4 or 5 weeks ago. I'm going to run different interest rates too. So I'm going to probably run 6.75, 7, and 7.25 just in case there's any fluctuation. I am always going to bank on the worst case scenario. And here's the secret. So even if I come out and I run through all the data platforms. And let's just say it comes out at 175 is really going to be that middle ground. And that's what I'm truly going to budget on. I'm going to reduce that by 10%. So I'm going to pull roughly 17.5. So let's just say it's going to be 160. And then my expenses are going to be roughly about 85,000. I'm going to move that up to around 90 to 95. So that way I have a 10% reduction, a 10% delta on the revenue, and I'm increasing my expenses by 10%. So that increase in delta is going to be another 10%. That gives me a 20% margin for error. And most of you won't do that because that will absolutely crush your deal. If I can't still be profitable and get a 36-month cash-on-cash return, or if I'm looking at a bigger property to have at least 20% cash flow, then I'm not interested in making that investment. And I will see that on the performa. If I don't run the performas, I'm just using my gut and I'm using my heart, right? And I don't think any of us want to invest $170,000 in cash and buy an $800,000 property without knowing. What a performa does is it mitigates our risk. It tells us the true story with no lies. The problem is when you start convincing yourself that this is a good deal and you have to tell a story behind it, that's when you're in trouble, folks. Let me say that one more time. When you have to tell yourself or tell somebody else a story about the property, oh, well, I'm buying it and the owners did this and I can do that and I think this is going to happen. And now you're telling it, you're just trying to convince yourself that the shitty deal is going to be good. Follow your performa. You can get free performas anywhere online. I don't give them away for free because typically those are just lead magnets that are just very basic. You can do that same work in an Excel spreadsheet. All you need to do is have your expenses, all of them, and then have your projected revenue. Make sure you're using accurate data sources. Get averages. I recommend for most of you, you're not going to perform like I do at 55% above the 90th percentile on AirDNA or STR Insights. That's why I use STR Insights, AirDNA, Rabu, and Matchvisor. I'm going to go through all of them. And I'm sure that the person that was, doing this property didn't use a dynamic pricing tool, may have had a property manager, utilizing their stuff, even with the comps at like 140 to 150. That's okay, but those are real numbers that I'm going to put some equity into because they're on the low side. And once again, don't forget about that 20% delta. Overestimate expenses by 10%, underestimate revenue by 10%. Create that 20% delta, put it into your performa, and mitigate making a bad investment. Thanks for joining me on STR Unfiltered, everybody. I look forward to seeing you on the next episode. Happy hosting.